I had several experiences where producers would call me crying or tell me years later that they were not allowed to cast me because
Oh.
um, I was too Jewish.
So you wrote something to me that I thought was very interesting. You wrote it last night or yesterday, and I
Yes,
got it this
yesterday.
morning. And you talked about that when you were growing up, you had a feeling of otherness. And it came from what was then the cultural stereotype of the Jewish American girl about being
Hmm.
all about materialism, Bloomingdale's,
Yeah,
shrew. And so
yeah.
talk about that and that you felt a desire to move away from that. Is that what you were trying to say?
Well, it certainly wasn't a stereotype that was comfortable to be looked at in that way. Like
Hmm.
I didn't want to own that stereotype, and I guess on some level I believed that that was true because that was what I was being told. Um,
And also,
you
wasn't
know,
it true? It was all over, yes. And it was
yeah,
also, remember Valley Girls, how that was all the rage in the 70s and 80s? And that
yes,
also
yes.
reinforced that
Yeah, there were a
stereotype?
lot of ways it was being reinforced. And so I felt shame around my Jewish identity.
Mm,
And it wasn't because somebody was like pointing at me and yelling, shame, shame. It was very internalized. Like we internalize these
mm.
things. That's what is dangerous about those stereotypes. Um, and so I think when I first left home, I really tried to reject all of it. I tried to change the way I spoke. I tried to um, pretend it was never like I was never a part of this thing. Like I really had to
Ah.
completely reject that identity because I thought it was this thing that people told me it was. Um, and then I, as I moved through the world, I started realizing, that's not coming from me. That's coming from the outside. So as there were things that would come up, like, are you going to change your name when you join SAG? You know, that's the moment. That's the moment you decide what your
Mm.
professional name is. That's a big moment for a person where it's like, well, what does that mean? That am I moving forward as myself or am I moving forward as this creation? When I was in the club scene, which is you had brought it up in your questionnaire, I had gone. I decided my name was Lisa E. Because I didn't know what I was becoming, so I just said E. Period.
Mhm.
Um, my middle initial is actually E, so it worked out. But it was really because I didn't know how to own a name like Edelstein out in the world without having to constantly battle with a sort of preconceived idea of what that meant. But again, I joined SAG and I used my name. Let me just back up. Before I joined SAG, I wrote that musical. I wrote an AIDS related musical called Positive Me, and we were making a poster for it, and I had to put my name on the poster. And again, like,
Mm.
who's writing this? Who's doing this? I couldn't leave myself behind. And it was like at 20 years old, I started to realize, like, you have to find a way to carry yourself with you despite what people might think. And so maybe if you're not Jewish or if you live in Israel and you're not a minority, the names don't carry the same onus they do here. But it really was a very specific choice to be made in that moment in time.
I'm sure. And also a little bit of concern about being typecast, perhaps.
I mean, I was at the very beginnings of my career. So, yes, the answer is yes. And I, for sure, it got in my way. I can tell you with 100% surety, it got in my way because people, I had several experiences where producers would call me crying or tell me years later that they were not allowed to cast me because
Oh,
um, I was too Jewish. And if I had changed my name, maybe that wouldn't have happened, but maybe I'm just what I am. Who knows? It's hard to
right,
say.
right.
What ended up happening is that I worked anyway and I got jobs anyway. And a lot of those characters became Jewish without my trying because people saw me that way. So that's fine.
So they added it as flavor and
They
texture to
added
the
it as flavor.
shows and
Yeah.
kind of went forward as opposed to
I mean,
moving
it's
away
funny
from
because,
men.
right, I don't feel like I'm that. obvious, but I guess I am.
I no, no, I think the name is always
Yeah,
a signal to people, and
yeah.
yes, and we hold on to it with
Hmm.
pride, and I'm really glad you did.